Hello and welcome back to the AutoCAD Basic Training Series. This is Zach, and today we'll be talking about drawing accurately, specifically ortho and distance, running object snaps, using construction lines to help you draw, and to set up the scale of the drawing on the page. So to start with, we're going to talk about ortho and distance. So this is a technique that you would use during a command. Whenever you have to pick 2 points, usually you can do it. So I'm going to use the line command. So I start it here in the ribbon, and it's asking for the first point, and I click. Now right now it's asking me for a second point, and where that second point is, I can use this ortho and distance technique to draw it perfectly accurate. Let me zoom in a little bit. Say I want to draw perfectly horizontal, and I want it to go 4 inches or so. So what I do is I want to turn on ortho. Ortho's this button here. Or you can hit F8 on your keyboard. Now the rubber band off the original point is forced to go in 90-degree directions. So what I do is I specify the direction I want with my mouse. So I'm going to go off to the right, make sure my ortho line is going off to the right. And then all you have to do, without clicking, you type in the distance. So I'm going to put in 4. And hit enter, and it draws it out 4 inches. I'm going to continue going on like this because the line command keeps repeating. So maybe this time I want to go up, and I'll go 2 inches. Like that. Let's go back 1 inch. So I move my mouse, make sure it's going to the left, and type in 1, hit enter. So I'm not clicking at all with the mouse, except to pan. Let's go up 3 inches. So move my mouse so it goes up 3, enter. Now I want to line up with that. So if I remember right, it should be another 3 inches, like that. And then I can use my OSNAP to close it, or I can go down the sum of these, which is 5. Let's just do that way. 5, enter, and I'm done. So I can just hit enter to stop. And now I got a perfect shape with the right dimensions. You can use this also with some of your other commands that you know, like move or copy. Let's try copy. So I'm going to select my objects, hit enter to tell AutoCAD I'm done selecting objects, and then I want to specify a base point. Because I'm just going to move this, let's say 6 inches to the right, I don't have to actually click on anything specific. I can just click off into space somewhere. All that we need to do is make sure that wherever I click, I'm going to go 6 inches from where that is. So I'll just click off here in space, and then I'll make sure my ortho's on, and I'm going off to the right, and then I'll type 6, just like I did with the line. And now I got a perfect 6 inch away from a 6 inch displaced object. So this point and this point should be 6 inches away from each other. That means that this is 2 inches away from each other, and it looks to be about right. We'll show you how to check all that in a future episode. So that's how ortho and distance works whenever AutoCAD requires 2 points. Usually lines, could be a circle, copy, move, many things. So running OSNAPs, they're controlled by this button. So a lot of the times when you're drawing, you don't want to have to, like say I wanted to connect these 2 lines, or draw a line between them, I should say. I can start my line command. And so far, what you know is to shift right click, go to endpoint to get that endpoint. Shift right click again to get this endpoint. And then maybe I want to continue this line. Let me turn off ortho. And I want to go diagonally this way, and then maybe perpendicular here. Then I'd have to go shift, right click, endpoint, and then shift, right click, perpendicular, like that. It's a lot of shift, right clicking. In AutoCAD, you can also turn on OSNAPs to run continuously so that they're always running. And you can do that by holding down shift, right click, just like you were going to do a normal OSNAP. Then you go down to the bottom, you can't see it on the video, go down to the bottom of this list, and there's OSNAP settings. So if I go there, no, it was in the wrong window. OSNAP settings, then this dialog here pops up. And here you can control which OSNAPs you want to run all the time. For a beginner, I suggest just running endpoint and intersection. A few of these are really bad to run all the time. They will actually make you less accurate. Nearest is one of them. Some of them I'm just not a fan of running all the time. Perpendicular is one of those. But I find that endpoint and intersection is pretty good starting point because those are the ones you usually use a lot. And they don't really interfere with each other. So I'm going to leave it on that setting. Now I can toggle this by clicking over here. This is my object snap toggle. Or you can hit F3. So if I click on this guy, now my OSNAPs are running. So while I'm using my line command, I can mouse over things without. Notice how I didn't have to do shift right click. It's just on. I can go to any one of these and it's on. Every point I pick, I can get an endpoint. But I can still, if like I want a perpendicular here, but I don't have anything to click on, or I don't have that OSNAP running. So in that case, I can shift right click for this one point. I want perpendicular, and then I can get that point, just like that. So yeah, endpoint and intersection are probably the ones you want to use the most. Perpendicular, midpoint, those are ones that you might only do occasionally, and you want to be very specific when you do use it. So those are good to have just in your repertoire. Shift right click perpendicular when you need it. That's the running OSNAPs. Then for construction lines, say I needed to add a circle in here, but I knew exactly where I wanted it to be. Maybe I want it to be at the midpoint of this and maybe 1 inch from the top. Now that's kind of a difficult thing to do. There are many ways to draw that, but I'm going to show you a way that uses construction lines, which is used pretty often in drawing. So first of all, I want to construct where the center of this is, because AutoCAD, when I draw this circle, it's going to ask me where the center point is. So let's go, I'm going to use the line command, and I'm just going to draw a temporary line that I plan to erase later. And I'm going to start at the midpoint here. Right click, shift right click midpoint, get that midpoint, and then I'll turn on ortho with F8, and I just want to make sure that the line is long enough. It doesn't really matter how long it is, so I just click off in space because I'm going to erase this line later. Then I want to go 1 inch from the top, so I can do that with several commands. You can use copy this down 1 inch. You can use offset. I'm going to use copy because copy lets me show you the drawing accurately part again. So copy, I'm going to select this object. Done selecting. Base point, I can click off in space because all I care about is moving it down 1 inch. So go like that. Use my mouse, not clicking, just move it down. My ortho's going straight down now. And I type 1, enter. And now I know that line has been copied exactly 1 inch down. And now I have a little place to start my circle. So I can use circle. My intersection is on already. So I can click there. And then I could type out a radius if I wanted to. Let's just type out a radius of 0.25. There's my circle. And now that I'm done with that, I can erase these using the erase command. So erase, select the 2 lines, hit enter. So I used my construction lines to help me draw this circle, and then I just erase them. You could do that in a lot of different, you can use construction lines in a lot of ways. Whenever you don't have a point to draw your objects, you can always use construction lines to kind of geometrically construct where you want that point to be and then start from there. Another way I could have done that doesn't use construction lines at all is using simply the move command. So if I draw my circle here, or actually at the midpoint here would probably be best. Draw my circle here at the midpoint and I go my radius of 0.25. All I have to do is move this down 1 inch and I know I'm in a good spot. So move this thing down 1 inch. And same thing, no construction lines necessary. But there are a lot of cases where construction lines are easier. It's a little bit easier to come back to what you're doing when you have construction lines. in case you got up or something. Final thing I wanted to show you is setting up the scale of a drawing. So this is a Walters and Wolf specific command, and all the Walters and Wolf specific commands are in the Walters and Wolf ribbon button tabs. So under WW Drafting, there's a command over here that looks like that, and it's called setup. You can also type setup in the command line. So if you run this, this allows you to change the scale of what model space is presented in Paperspace. So right now it looks like that in Paperspace. If I go over here to setup, and by default any new drawing is 1:1, so this is same size. If I go to setup and I change this, let's go half scale, 6 inches to the foot. I select that and I hit OK, and now it's half size on Paperspace. If I didn't like that, I could keep running it. Maybe I want it even smaller. There you go. And if I wanted to go back, full scale, hit OK. This command's also used to change the orientation. So let me go back to half scale. Also, it changes in model space. This rectangle here also changes automatically. But say I wanted this view to be different. Maybe I wanted this to be up along this side because it's a really tall elevation. You could do that by, I'm going to do my half scale. You click this checkbox, rotate view 90 degrees. And then when you hit OK, it does a sort of side view. So you'll see our shop drawings are oftentimes like that. And that's how the drafter got that effect, is they ran the setup with a 90-degree rotation. Over here you can see it also changed the rectangle's aspect, so now it goes up and down. So you could still draw your elevation right side up, so you don't have to twist your neck or your head to see things. In model space you always draw it right side up, but in paper space it shows it going in this direction instead of up. Let's try another scale here. So these are more detail size. For elevations, we usually use 3/8 or 1/4. Usually 3/8 though. But you'll see that that's really small. And also you can't, when you run setup, this rotate 90 degrees, it's either on or off. It doesn't keep rotating the view 90 degrees because it would be bad if we had upside down drawings. So if I run it off, it'll just make up be up on the page. If I turn it on, then up is to the left on the page. So that's the setup command. Thank you very much.